This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Introduction. BRICS is a group of 5 countries with emerging economies that have united to develop a cooperation plan regarding trade and investment. The acronym stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which joined the group in 2010. Almost 20 years ago, some specialists predicted that the united economies of these nations would become the wealthiest power by 2050. Despite the political and economic instability of recent years, the BRICS countries show a varying increase in their trade and investment potential. BRICS nations and their economies. The most recent overview of the BRICS trade results claims that the region has around 23% of the world's GDP. At the same time, its share in the total trade and investment sector counts for 18%, while the export numbers have grown twice over the past 10 years. The region is evaluated to have a large labor force that is occupied in agriculture, while service industries experience a lack of specialists. The BRICS countries are also characterized by the relatively low specialization in modern technology, which is often taken from the more developed states. The national economies of BRICS countries are classified as developing or industrialized. However, the resources of these countries make them competitive in the global trade market. For instance, the region's population is estimated to be 3 billion people, 42% of the total world population. Moreover, Russia is considered the leading energy power, with the most significant natural gas reserves and large amounts of crude oil and coal, all of which are exported. While Russia has the most significant GDP per capita rate inside the group, resources are spread unevenly across the population, leaving many impoverished people. The economies of the region seem to be somewhat different in each country. For example, China is more oriented toward exports, while India has a negative trade balance. China's positive results for the national economy are explained mainly by a large number of foreign companies that have their production sites there. The labor force in China is cheap, while workers have become more technologically skilled in recent years. The rise in competitiveness among Chinese technology producers such as Xiaomi and Huawei marks the future transition of this country to the post-industrial level. BRICS and NAFTA. NAFTA is an acronym that stands for the North American Free Trade Agreement, created more than 20 years ago. The USA, Canada, and Mexico are the members of NAFTA, the primary idea of which was to increase the region's economic competitiveness. The plan was to relocate production to Mexico since this country had the cheapest labor force in the group, while the United States and Canada would specify on marketing, finance, and technology. The difference between NAFTA and BRICS is that the latter does not have the same level of industrial consolidation. BRICS members do not share their industry sectors with each other, and their production strategy remains a domestic business. In this perspective, BRICS is more of a political union that has common goals regarding the world economy. At the same time, Trump's administration in the USA shows intentions of decreasing the level of international trade partnerships, including the cooperation inside the NAFTA group. Besides, China currently seems to be a cheaper production site than Mexico, which leaves the latter fewer privileges as a NAFTA member in recent decades. Conclusion. BRICS is a term for a group of 5 countries that have agreed to act together to increase their trade and investment shares. However, the members of BRICS do not work together under a single strategy, and they have economic models and resources that differ greatly. This lack of real cooperation is the group's most significant difference from NAFTA, which has a relatively clear structure regarding the division between production in Mexico and other functions in the USA and Canada. If you want to find more works like this essay on BRICS nations and economies, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of free samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects. No registration required to access it.